Hello everyone, welcome to this tutorial. We're going to be painting a pink rose in a dark vase. We're going to start right from blocking in a shape, answering two questions: how big to make this rose and where to place it. When I look at my reference, if I just look at the big shapes, it feels like it's upside down L shape. So that's what I will start finding, where will be the bottom of the vase, and then just dragging my brush across and then bringing across the rose, so you can see the general big shape of the whole composition. I encourage to start your painting from painting, not drawing. So from the first brush stroke, we are looking not at the lines, not at the outlines, but we are looking for the whole shape and trying to grasp the whole form of the rose, how much space it takes, and then the vase as a supporting element grounds it or anchors it down with another anchor of the cast shadow across the picture plane, moving in the direction with the light. After I know the placement and approximate sizing, understanding the structure of the flower is important. So if I try to look at this flower as one single shape, I can describe it as if it was a cup looking this way, tilted a little bit forward, and having a 3/4 view. So this is a frontal plane going away from me, and this is the side plane also turning away from me. And the strongest edge in the corner is this edge facing me, the most protruded place in this rose. From this point, this is going away, this is turning away, this is tucking under, and so forth. So this is the place of the importance of the most protruded space of that rose. And then to organize the petals behind it, you can envision them as if it was a saucer behind that plane. We can fit in a different petals. So this becomes a structure of that rose. The depth of the rose is inside. Every petal is connecting into that middle point, and every petal is overlapping and rotating around it. Now, when I understand the structure, I can concentrate on painting shadow design on that rose. So I will take my alizarin crimson and I will take a little bit of cadmium red to warm this up and start from the most protruded area and move, create this under bridge of the top plane. This is all in shadow because it's under kind of a roof or a bridge or umbrella, whatever you want to think of it as. And then there is a cast shadow across, and then the form shadow coming back, and a little bit of a shadow here. Now, some of the petals that are protruding can break some of that shadow away, but it's still there, so we'll put it in. And then there is a bottom plane of the rose that is in shadow here. But notice what's particular about this rose, that the most saturated colors are inside. And it's usually true about every flower, that the smaller, younger petals that are hidden inside from the sun and the weather that can bleach it out, they become the most colorful here. And outside petals, they tend to lose color, so they become less saturated. So knowing that I'm going to use a little bit of gray or violet, and I'm going to capture a shadow shape on the side of the rose that has a little bit more violet feel to it rather than a saturated pink. And then there's going to be a little bit more shadow on the petal that's facing away from the light, and a little bit more shadow on the turning of this petal. And now we just block in, and if we need to make it smaller or bigger or change the position, that's okay, we'll do that. And there is a few petals that coming out of that and drooping down. That's a shadow shape on the structure of that rose. Again, that is very much looks like a cup facing away, three-quarter views, and a saucer around it, which would be those loose petals. Now I'm going to take a little bit of ultramarine or phthalo blue with a little bit of alizarin. All this adding a touch of what I already used to create a color harmony. And then just give a little shape, just a rectangle shape to begin with for my vase. And then I can always round off the silhouette of the vase to make it more oval shape. And I won't do much more. I'll just leave this vase as a dark base. Notice that I didn't divide it into light and shadow shape for the reason that this is a dark glass and it really doesn't have the definition of light and shadow. And then simply I'm going to connect this into the cast shadow falling on the table. Now, usually what I would do is I would paint the background out. But because I want to use the background to sculpt away my rose, I will work more on the rose, do the light pattern on it, and then use the background to shape the whole rose. For the light, I will take a lot of white, place away from my dark shapes and my shadow shapes. Take a generous amount of white. And then I will start from painting side plane of the cup. For that, I will add a little bit of color to the side. I can add a little bit of violet as well. I want to create a very lit up flower with a sense of light. So I'm going to go very bright from the start. I'm not going to go incrementally from darker light to lighter light, but I'm going to try to get that feeling of being lit up. And notice that I will disregard all the separations between the petals. At this point, I will just paint the structure of the flower. And then if I need to, I would start dividing those petals a little later. But right now, what I'd like to capture is a sense of light on the form. Now here, I'm going to add a little bit more violet into my mix, and I'm going to start descending into the transition. Not only I slightly change the coloration into less saturation by adding gray, but I also relaxed my pressure on the brush so it doesn't come out as strong, and therefore edge quality became softer and the value became a little darker. With the same paint, I can block in the top petal, and with the same, I'm going to block in. Remember, I already put some gray paint into it. So here, that petal coming out here behind the flower, And having it a little bit darker will help to get that structure read better, that the cup is in front and the petal is on the back. This is my shadow. So again, at this point, I'm connecting these two separate petals as one. And start your painting as simple as possible. I'm going to put a little bit of that gray here as a beginning, as a little shadow here. And I'm going to make a little brush stroke for the beginning of this petal that's going to go under the cup. And then I'm going to take a little bit of yellow, my coolest cadmium yellow lemon, mix into my white, pick up enough paint on the brush, start from the starting light edge, from the top edge, and just paint the shape, the triangular shape, and move the light back, sharpen the edge here between the two petals, and soften the edge into that form shadow. And the same thing, soften the edge. So I'm just dragging my brush. I'm not pressing, because if I press, I release a lot of paint, and that will leave my edge looking sharp. But if I just slightly drag my brush, just putting it almost half and half and dragging across, so connecting my shadow into my light, and that softens the edge. Now, with the same light that has a little bit more yellow, I'm going to come back here, see where that light from this petal continues in this dynamic diagonal line, sharp edge, and now soften it as you come into the shadow shape. So again, I'm going to repeat that brush stroke, make it a little bit wider, start from a starting light edge, the most protruded, and then drag my brush a little bit more and just finish this edge a little bit sharper, and then come back to color and define the edge here. So now I'm ready to continue painting the flow of that light. And this is your brightest light. So you have a bit of a highlight right here on the middle of that form, right here, where the top plane is meeting the side plane here. You'll have a highlight sitting on that corner. But because it's a rounded form, the corner is very slow moving around. So you'll have the space that is most protruded. But inside of that cup, the strength of this light will be even stronger than the light on this surface. I'm going to land my brush stroke and pull it all the way up. And then I'm going to get a little bit more color into it, because I'm moving inside of the cup, and I'm going to create a little wider space. I'm going to reload my brush, and then maybe bring a little bit more color and come in a little more color. As that light coming up and climbing that visual hill, it's becoming less lit up and more colorful. Adding a little bit of a shadow into my light and just meeting that, bringing a little bit more color and coming around. You can see how the structure of the rose became evident. Now when we have a flow of light, we can start carving out the petals from the light, and we can add reflective light and carve out a few petals in the shadow. Thank you so much.